here. We have the assumption that everything we hear and see and feel is outside of this body, is outside of this. And we have this energetic distinction between inside and outside. There is a me in here, there is an experiencer in here experiencing that outside, when really there is simply experience. There's not even something aware of experience. The consciousness, you could say, is in whatever is appearing. There's nothing actually conscious of it. There's nothing separate from the appearances. So the seeing is the appearances, the hearing is the appearances. So the sound of the aeroplane is it. There's a functioning that seems to go on where a body hears and there's this consciousness of it, but none of it's actually separate like that. There's nothing actually hearing the object out there. It's all one and the same movement. And that's the end of suffering. The end of suffering isn't anything to do with the behavior of the person, or the person becoming more peaceful, or the person acting in a certain way. That's what everybody, until waking up, thinks happens, that in some way the characteristics change, because that's the only way they could possibly talk about it. You can't talk about it waking up not being a personal thing. You wouldn't have any qualities of it. The energetic movement from being someone experiencing the world to simply the world, or to simply what is, not even the world, isn't a thing. So what spiritual seekers do is they always obsess about the behavior of the body, and they think that it's about not getting angry or getting over something quickly, or acting in a certain way, like being generous or not being tight with money, because that's things that you could see. So that's a movement in time that somebody could see. So most of the time when non-duality is being talked about, its focus is on the loosening of the character. That might be a side effect of waking up, but what waking up actually is the end of the divide between inside and outside. So there's simply what is left. And what is isn't like what the person thinks. What is isn't anything describable. It's not a stable thing which you can describe. It's something which is continuously moving and not happening in a linear timeline like we imagine. So there's not somebody now that's experiencing the garden, that's experiencing the windows, that's experiencing these bodies. There's not somebody experiencing the flower. There's not even something. If you even believe that your consciousness, that's still something experiencing. There is simply what is appearing. Consciousness might be some form of functioning that happens in this appearance, but really it's nothing, just another form appearing, not the source. It goes at night time.
So is there like a constant sense that this is a dream in a way?
No, because that's intellectual.
Yeah.
That's something that you'd think that would come and go. Terrible, you live with nothing, because it's nothing that we think about. Even the idea of the collapse of something is again something we describe in thoughts, and thoughts come and go in this, and as something that are human, that belong to humans in the human world. So it's not even that you're constantly aware it's a dream. It's not that you're constantly aware that it's non-divided. That's always a thought. So what is it that doesn't come and go? That always is what is. not even consciousness of what is, because consciousness goes. It's always what is happening. And that's home. And you understand why a lot of speakers that are being translated are always pointing about something about the moment. It's got to be in the moment. And it's not really to do with the moment, but it's the end of looking at this through the dream of time, or the dream of me and you and what we know.
I recognize it's such a habit to actively look for it or comprehend it with thinking.
Mm.
Although it's so many times it's said that it's so simple.
Yeah.
But sometimes there's a recognition that before this thing already starts, it's already simply, when it's quiet, let's say, it's automatically, yeah, that these are objects and this is object, and it's all just
happening
of the one soup. Yeah. Is it so simple?
It's so simple that, and even the thoughts which are looking for something are it as well.
Yeah, of course.
That doesn't imply somebody that's having an experience. What's happened, which is maybe also habit, but this is an energetic sense, is that those thoughts indicate somebody inside something that's having an experience, and that they're my thoughts. We don't even know where they're appearing. Actually, the distance between them and the external sounds is undefinable.
Yeah.
Like they kind of appear, and we've been told that we think in here, but they arise, and it's nothing to do with certain forms of thinking or certain patterns of thinking or ways of looking at life. They come and go. But when that person that believes it exists loosens, then the thoughts aren't grabbed onto so much. They're not such center focus, but they don't need to stop thinking. It's just that doesn't mean anything. But we put so much focus on what we think we know, and it's such a huge identity, our knowledge. It's worship the intellect.
Because there is some kind of sense that those thoughts need to be used to create some kind of structure in which I could fit in, somehow.
Yeah. But really the thoughts were only ever about practical. Like even the way we say like structure, it's a very practical thing. And then we thought that we could look at ourselves through our practical, you could say, discrimination or talking about what is. We thought then that we could say something about ourselves. So humans start talking about our environment and how to improve our environment. And then they're like, who's experiencing the environment? And then they believe that they can speak about someone. And then they get lost in this whirlwind of trying to improve that someone. And sometimes I feel sorry for people that have got into spirituality or therapy, because then it puts so much emphasis on improving that someone that doesn't exist. It never existed. And then they're trying to be something better. I was watching this Dutch documentary with Paul. It was half in English, and Paul was translating bits and bobs. And it was saying, it was very scientific. I forgot what channel it was on in Holland. I don't know if you guys heard about it. And they basically started the show saying, science has proven there's nobody inside these bodies. So let's explore what that means for humankind. So they started off with the statement, there is nobody inside here. Come on, let's get to science knows this, has known this for ages. And then they looked at how that affects society. And they were interviewing loads of scientists, and the scientists were basically saying it's almost impossible it's highly unlikely for genetics, genes and conditioning to change. It's such a painful process that people go on trying to change that. Like trying to you've got generations passed on. Having a Khaleesi from Thailand, she's so different from European dogs and domesticated dogs, and it's totally a genetic thing. But if she belonged in the spiritual world, people would be like, you've got to release your anger, you've got to, whatever it is, you've got to look back to your childhood traumas. And that's generations of breeding of a more aggressive dog that then, and we can change it to a little bit of an extent. I could control it by pain and pleasure, by taking away to an extent. But the natural instinct is going to want to push to do that. So if you've got, like, I remember when I was in the spiritual search, people used to tell me, I've not got the highest intellect in the universe, believe it or not, but they used to tell me that I had emotional blocks, and that's what was blocking my intellect. And if I got over my emotional blocks, my intellect, and I remember really believing this, like really, like thinking, oh yeah, this is, and it's great in one way to get out of the thought pattern that you are a certain way and you're stuck like that. But in another way, you then get into this constant cycle of trying to improve this thing. And it's nothing to do with improving it in time. It's the disappearance into whatever's happening, into what's happening. But the great thing about all that spiritual search is that it debunks what you believe you originally take. Like you take, this is me and I am a certain way, and all the traditional ideas. But then none of the ideas are true, and you'll be running around in circles forever because there's never actually anybody there. I'll call you in a minute, Iango, after I've finished talking with these two, with the people in the room, and then I'll call you.
It's fine when you just look to find the meaning or whatever, or how it works, or how thoughts come up, or how you function, or that you recognize you just do something and then the thought comes afterwards, and that you really don't understand anything at all. And it's clear. It is very clear. And then the people in the environment, of course, they have all the ideas, all the theories about how things work and stuff. And I know, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I know you also don't know.
Yeah.
So
we have to pretend that you do know, otherwise war will start. And also the same with the thoughts is that whatever a thought arises now, in 5 minutes' time, they're more than likely going to change.
Yeah.
It's constantly changing. But
it kind of seems that at the same time, somehow on this kind of, where the level where I need to, earn for living and all that, it seems that I need to externally kind of adjust to certain pattern, because if I don't, then I won't be able to.
You need to adjust what?
I need to somehow, on some kind of level, there needs, I don't know, fit into the society, because I need to, earn for the living, or I need to. So, and if I try, I don't want to make it like too hypothetical, but it seems that some kind of on some level there needs to be something where I need to play the game.
There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone, including everybody, has to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has to play with humans, and most humans think this is real and this is actually happening. But in the scientific world, that would seem like an easier one to fit into. Maybe not in your line of work, actually. But in the sense of, it's a very practical thing. It's something that you're looking at and examining, and it's not really about you in relationship with it. Or maybe it is, I don't know your work.
I already started. But.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that's the way the character works, but it's just not true and real.
Because I do sometimes this example, when I cross on the US border and I show the passport and this is me, and then there's a story, and then it's kind of and then it's kind of playing, this is very, very real, and
Oh yeah, no. Every time I go into America, I have my story already. I've been to America a lot this last year, so I have this bullshit story that I'm part of this Christian group, and they love it.
Welcome.
Yeah, I say I'm part of Course in Miracles. What's that? It's a Christian group, and I say and they all light up. Oh yes, yes, come in. So that's the way it goes. Doesn't mean it's really you. Anything you describe about the body, it doesn't mean it's the experience.
It's about fitting in society, etc. Yeah, already for, I don't know, 25 years. There's no me and it all works fine. It is already happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think in a way it makes the human more normal, like the human side of things more normal. Because when the person's there, you're always trying to be something. So when you meet people, you want people to think a certain way of you, and you want, like, whereas when that's crumbling or gone, then it's just response happening, and
Yeah, because I feel sometimes I can't meet people because I always want something from someone, or I'm afraid that someone wants something from me. Yeah, it's like a very so then like any interaction with people is. I mean, for me, it seems like these are those two modes that either I can want something from someone, or someone wants something from me that I wouldn't like them to want.
Yeah.
And then every kind of this interaction is kind of.
And the thing is, isn't it crazy that it's the awareness of that? So the person that's aware of all that dynamic and that wanting that creates the problem. It's like the person that knows that because obviously there's always going to be the movement of the body is always going to be towards pleasure. So you're never going to meet someone and just give them all your money or all your assets unless that's a pleasurable sensation. So the body naturally moves towards pleasure, but then it gets obsessed with that and believes it's happiness, and too much emphasis gets put on pleasure. So then it's always, and it gets so complicated. You've got to be something, you've got to look a certain way, you've got to have a house a certain way, you've got to have a certain whatever it is. You've got to have certain clothes, you've got to have a certain garden. And then it becomes an obsession, and it's always the one that's aware of all that that's the problem. Otherwise the body will just naturally respond. This really doesn't, what's being talked about here really isn't about being aware of yourself. Like my dog is so unaware of herself, and she's totally free, and she's grumpy, and she's so cute as well. But like you could be a really uneducated person in the sense of psychology or anything you know about the human, and if that drops, then there will just be the gentle movement towards pleasure and the avoidance of pain, but it won't be, there'll be nobody there aware of themselves, and they might not even know about a lot of the more complicated dynamics that we talk about, and they don't even need to, because it's a disappearance into it rather than some form of awareness of it. It's this self-awareness that screwed it all up, or made it seem screwed.
Because the self-awareness is some kind of mechanism of controlling, yes?
Yeah, but also it's like, have you ever taken drugs or been really drunk?
So drugs, no. Drugs happens for me very easily. One beer is enough. I have recently almost passed out after half of a glass of wine. So I think, okay, alcohol is completely not for me.
But you know when you completely forget yourself, or when you're laughing, that's what that's the taste of it. It's completely forgetting yourself. Like when you're an artist, or when you're working, or driving fast or something, and there's nobody that's in control of it or doing it. There's just a dissolving into it.
Yeah, so for me the most fun is precisely when there are those moments where I start laughing out of no reason, and then it goes sometimes for half an hour, and then this is completely crazy.
Yeah, and you forget yourself. You completely forget yourself.
And very often that's still, like, in the head, it's still like a lot of fun, and it's really, really crazy. But that's not the problem.
The thoughts.
Yeah.
There might still be somebody there a bit, but not thoughts, not necessarily a problem. It's always the one that's aware of itself. Because if you're having negative thoughts and there's nobody that's aware of it, then what does it matter? Or negative sensations, if there's nobody that believes it's happening to them, and that there could be something else. It's simply happening in freedom.
But then also kind of observed. So there are sometimes those moments when it becomes like very, I don't know, the focus kind of relaxes, I would say, and then there is the sense of more spontaneity.
Yeah.
But then after somehow there is an experience that after that kind of finishes, because then there's often a lot of thought generated, and after that finishes, and somehow this I don't know how to phrase it, but then after the spontaneity finishes, it seems that all those thoughts that been there and before haven't been a problem because they haven't been somehow taken personally, they suddenly seem to become a burden, and there is a strong need to focus, because then it was like the focus was kind of freed. Yeah. But now there is the sense that actually all those thoughts are kind of becoming a burden, so there is a strong need to kind of focus on something specific so that those thoughts are no longer a burden, so I can focus on, I don't know, doing something, calculating something, or so there is somehow the sense that it's really, there is a strong kind of freedom in this relaxation, but then it seems that after some time, because when this focus is released, it means that anything can happen in terms of thoughts. And so then all those crazy thoughts come, and then at some point there is a sense that they're becoming a burden, so I need to focus on something to be free of that.
And it always comes to the one that's aware of them. They wouldn't be a problem if there was nobody aware of them. Like if my dog is in pain, or a dog's in pain, if it doesn't have a sense that it's in pain, then it's not suffering. There is simply pain arising in freedom. But even in that relaxing, when everything's beginning to relax, that's still an experience because there's still somebody aware of that relaxing. So anything that you see is going to go. Anything that's experienced is going to go. Any experience, even in me describing it as a dissolving into it, it's kind of making it sound like an experience. So when you think that you've got somewhere, or when you think that you know what's being talked about, then that's an experience again that's going to go, and then you'll lose it.
Yeah, sometimes this is funny that there's like always this, oh, I got something, but then of course I'm going to show no, that's not possible, right?
And then it goes, because then you've got something, and then you're looking at something in comparison to, and it's only ever what is. It's so hard to talk about, because even in describing, the dissolving into things becomes another thing.
Yeah, so there's still kind of the sense that there needs to be some kind of structure, and it needs to adhere to the structure. If somehow there is some kind of sensation that is not fitting the structure, then something has gone wrong. That's the instantaneous kind of response of the mind, and it's a suffering because there's an instantaneous response. Something has gone wrong. This shouldn't have happened.
So structure being like everyday life, or the person? What do you mean by it's got to fit into structure? Anything?
No, I mean just psychologically. Psychologically, it seems that. Psychologically somehow, I don't know, there is this, for example, relaxation, and now there is a strong need to focus on something. And it's, this is bad because there should be more tendency towards relaxation, so now the desire to focus onto something is a...
So the way that you do the science experiments and look at problems in science, you've taken that on to yourself as if there's somebody there. And there's nobody actually there that can focus and not focus. Who is that movement?
It just happens.
It's happening, and it's the end of that one that's claiming any of those happenings. It couldn't be any other way. And the thought processes won't bring you any more or less peace. They will always just be thought processes.
Because sometimes there is a belief that they will bring you more peace, but sometimes there is also the belief that they shouldn't be coming because they will take my peace away.
And that's an experience that comes and goes, and if you rely on that, then you'll always be in the pendulum of life, looking for one over the other. Hi, Isabel. Hi, Phyllis. Hi, Nikki. Oh, Nikhil, sorry. Hi, Bradley. Hi, Johannem. Hi, Yango. Hi, Lee. Hey, Bradley.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. You can hear me okay?
Yes, thank you. There are two terms that you use sometimes. I was just going to ask you about them. The vertical and the second.
The what?
Um,
The vertical.
yeah, the vertical.
The vertical, yeah. The vertical is what I use as in meaning this moment or this what is, rather
Yes.
than the person that's going in time in the horizontal. I kind of go on and off using those words.
Right. Would you say that again?
The vertical is this what is,
Yes.
and it's always vertical. It's never horizontal. And horizontal is the person going in time, the person that believes it existed yesterday and exists tomorrow. And Ramesh used to say it like he used to say that the horizontal and the vertical meet in the middle, like the cross,
Right.
and that's home. Like it's like that point in the middle of the cross where it joins. Like he used to do it like two lines and imply that's what it meant. I think it was Ramesh.
And another question is then the second. Is the second the dual, like the false one?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't used that in a long time. I can't remember how I used to use it. The second, the one that's claiming things, I think I used to use it in that terminology. It's always changing the terminology that I use. Like I go through fads of calling it different things.
Right. Cool. I don't have more questions. If I had more, I would ask them. So thank you.
Thanks, Bradley. Bye.
Bye.
I'm just going to go to the toilet.
Stretch legs. Okay, who is this? Should I know?
What is a stand-up comedian or
Sorry?
a stand-up comedian?
Oh, I don't know.
A comic.
What's his name? Sorry? Oh, so this is.
Yeah, the guy who goes on stage and
Yeah.
and it's his name. Oh, I'm so bad at names, but it will come.
Oh, okay. But he's Dutch? Oh, no,
No, he's American.
Okay.
No, I don't know his name.
Oh my goodness, she's so cute. She wants to come in, but she's not allowed. You're so adorable. You're so adorable. Tiki. You're not allowed in. You're not allowed in. The milk's in the fridge if I put it away, just in the door.
Oh, it was still lying here, so
Okay.
I can put it in the fridge.
No, that's fine. Leave it out in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, Jack.
Hello.
Hi. Is that how I say it, Jack?
It is, yes. It's confusing. There's obviously a delay, is there?
Yeah, so you don't get to see me. If you really want
I
to.
was watching you just get back onto the couch.
Oh yeah.
And you started Skype.
Yeah, no, it's about 20 to 30 seconds behind, sometimes a minute.
I just I need to turn you off on
You can just,
Ustream.
yeah, you can just turn the volume down, or you can turn it off.
Okay, cool.
Whichever you like.
So, first, I love your spontaneity and your uniqueness. It's very refreshing, I'd say.
Oh, nice.
I have. So my spiritual journey has been kind of letting go of the concept of karma and the concept of there being souls and things like that. And I guess it's led me to watch a couple of your videos.
Yeah.
One of the biggest reflections I have at the moment, and I don't have an answer for it, and I just wanted to share it with you to see what you thought, is about self-realization or enlightenment being very much the other side of it, a personal take on things.
Yeah.
Because of so many differing and perhaps even conflicting views that come out of clearly very evolved and often very likely enlightened souls.
Yeah, well, it depends how you hold the word enlightenment as to what it refers to.
Yeah, is that suggesting there are deeper levels of it, or is it?
No, I certainly don't see it as deeper levels. But I would say everybody will have their own interpretation of what enlightenment is. To one person, enlightenment could be if you've had very traumatic past and there's a change from that and you stop being so influenced by what's happened in the past. That could be what somebody would describe as enlightenment. And you're from being a very troubled character to a very peaceful character. That could be somebody's description of it. Another person's description of it could be, I've heard people describe it like this, as a silent mind, as no longer having any thoughts. There's a guy called, did a talk at a conference with him once called, I forget his name, but he described that enlightenment to him was the end of thinking. So he no longer ever had any thoughts or emotional disturbances. What else can be enlightenment? Some people could describe enlightenment as getting in contact with a higher power, with a sense of feeling like they've contacted God or contacted something beyond. Some people could call enlightenment, like a spiritualist, like engaging with ghosts or something. So it's really dependent on how that word's held. Ramesh Balsekar, a speaker that I used to visit, an Indian speaker, he used to say, enlightenment's not a certified thing. It's not a stamp that you get or a certificate that you get. It's not like winning a race or taking your exams for school. There is no certificate, there is no line. So it depends on what each person describes enlightenment to be. And actually here, I don't believe there is an enlightenment. I don't believe there is a personal enlightenment. I believe that it's not even my belief, it's just what's coming out here, but it's enlightenment is in the words. In the word, it's like in a poetic way, or I would say it's like you no longer see yourself as a thing anymore. So in a way you could say you become like light, enlightenment. There is no definable thing in which you are. I mean, I suppose you could see light as something, but then if you really examined light, you'd begin to see there's nothing there. And so I don't see enlightenment as in any way a personal thing. Nobody gets enlightened. Nobody gets that. It's the collapsing of believing that you are one particular thing. The collapse of that.
That makes sense, and I feel that as well. But how do the variations of that come about? Is it purely down to the interpretation of the enlightened state?
I would say so, yeah. Some people call enlightenment also the intellectual realizing that you are consciousness as opposed to you are a separate person. So they often call that enlightenment as well. So there's so many, and some people call it the intellectual understanding of non-duality. So I would say it's definitely down to what the words interpret it as. I wouldn't call it different levels.
It's a minefield, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of...
This is what I love about non-duality, because non-duality, I mean, in the words it says, but the thing is, there's so many different things come under non-duality now, so many different ideas come under the title non-duality, but originally it's meaning not two, so it's not even defining itself as a thing. It's just saying it's not two. It's not you in relationship with this. It's not anything in relationship with it. But it's not even defining itself in the positive. Which I think is really beautiful, because it means there's no place to get stuck. There's nobody that can sit there and have the banner on of having got somewhere. It's simply not two. Because somebody having got somewhere means something, means two. But a lot of people now a lot of things come under non-duality. And I simply, always try to point back to, as soon as you think it's something, then you're in a dream again of two. And that's not talking about the same thing that I'm talking about. But that's not that it's wrong in any way. And if somebody's had a really hellish life and that conditioning has changed in a dramatic way, and there has been a big liberation happening from being really disturbed to not disturbed, or they've had a really troubled mind to a not troubled mind, I think that's really beautiful. I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's not what I would describe as non-duality.
No, I think there are... there's non-duality, and then there's emotional intelligence and healthiness, isn't there?
Yeah. And a lot of people, I think, in our society are very emotionally unhappy and unstable and very confused because we've changed so much in the last 100 years. We've lost God, we've got so much technology. So there's been such a big change that, like, people...
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the concept of losing God.
Yeah.
Where did we put him?
Yeah.
I came out of some a real sense of belonging to a set of teachings a year ago.
Yeah.
And so
were they like Buddhist or something, or
no? It was.
And you said karma.
Yeah, it's based in Glastonbury in UK, and they offered me. It was perfect. It offered me a great deal of insight and a real acceleration on my personal seeking.
Yeah.
But I did lose myself, and that was my experience. It's not necessarily a reflection on the teachings. And so I've had a really maybe strong inquiry about the benefit of teachings or the place of teachings in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And how disempowering, I suppose, in some ways that can be.
Yeah, and empowering. Like, I remember when I got into Buddhism originally, I mean, it was just so exciting. I felt so high joining this group, being in access to all these teachings that I really thought were true. And there was a great sense of changing the direction of my life from being very materialistic, not necessarily materialistic, but goal focused, to opening up to this whole different perspective. But then, like everything, it comes with its downside. Then I got dragged into believing what they taught me, and then I got into a new dogma.
Yeah, indeed. It's quite intellectual from my experience and take on Buddhism.
Yeah, it can be really intellectual.
Yeah, for me it was a bit overwhelming with that side of things.
Yeah.
Okay, just one final question. I think I've kind of experienced, and whether it's a sort of a manifestation of the mind, but I've experienced the vibrational reality of the universe.
Yeah.
And it seems that for me that seems to be accelerating and very much a part of existence. And reading in watching one of your videos, I kind of got the feel that for you is an illusion, or is not part of your experience of the universe.
Every form that appears, everything. So any form that appears is illusory. Every form, every experience that can happen you can always get some form of microscope out and go in closer and realize that form is not what it appears. So to feeling the vibration of the universe is still a form. That's still something that's appearing. Until there's no appearances left, then the forms are never a stable thing. They're never something to be relied upon. You can always so anything that we look at now, you could get a microscope out, or you could put on some special glasses, or if you looked through different eyes, the forms would be seen differently, and they would seem to never have an edge and never to be a solid thing. So for experiencing the vibrational force of the universe, which I don't know exactly what you're referencing to that, but to experience anything is still a form and will change. Until there's nothing left, then forms will always be illusory, because they're never as they seem. Never as they seem. But that's the beauty of them. They're always in movement, and they're never permanent. Every experience.
Yeah, that makes sense. That slots into place. When we're talking, I just had. I just remembered there was a section of the question about enlightenment that I'd like to go back to, if you don't mind. Which is, in reflecting on it, I just wondered whether, and just often speaking out loud, you get a better handle of it yourself, don't you? But
Yeah.
whether that with the this is humour me a little bit in terms of the concept that I'm jumping back into the illusion.
Yeah.
But sorry, I'm just trying to let the words settle. But I just wondered, with the differences in teachings and the concept of enlightenment or self-realization and the message that comes with that, whether that had anything to do with the aspects of our brain that we don't use, and in some ways I was just bashing around the concept that actually each of us is a universe, and that the map of that universe is unique for each of us. I don't know if I've explained that well enough, but
I don't know if I know exactly what you mean, but there is no path. There is no particular path. So if you were to describe Lisa's story and somebody else's story, they will never be the same. So there's never a common map that we could write out to get to this. There's simply what's happening.
yeah, I think it's more not so much getting to it. That is obviously always unique. It's more a question of the other side of it, and maybe just being able to explain or quantify the uniqueness of everyone's experience, the other side. So in self-realization or in the message that's being presented by teachers,
Yeah.
whether it's to do with each of us is experiencing our own very unique
World.
existence.
Yeah.
Although there are obviously a lot of common ground and a lot of similar messages, but I guess it's does that
Yeah.
is that
Well, I
form
think
the question or not?
I kind of feel like you're trying to say that that the reason there's so many different variations on the topic of enlightenment is because everyone will always have a different experience because of the brain or because of the different variations of the brains.
Yeah, well, the access of the parts of the brain that aren't fully understood.
Yeah.
This is an area that I'm not particularly au fait with, but
Me neither.
I think. But we use, realistically, in terms of the physical world, we use 13% of our brain roughly.
No.
And I just wonder.
No, I wouldn't agree, because waking up, the movement from being a separate person to everything isn't to do with the brain. So if you imagine a dream at night, when we dream at night, we often dream through a body. So we dream as if we're this body in that dream, and we're looking through this body. Sometimes we have other bodies, but we dream and we experience the dream world as if we're hearing it, as if we're seeing it, as if we're feeling it, and as if we're in relationship to it in some way. But actually, it's a dream that's happening, and it's not the body that's interpreting it. It seems to be the body that's interpreting it, and the body will have a particular flavour of that interpretation, and it seems to be functioning through the senses. But ultimately, it can't be, because everything is made of that dream, and there can't be a brain that's in relationship with anything, that's experiencing anything. So the brain isn't an experiencer in any way. So that movement from being somebody to nobody isn't a brain thing.
No, I understand that. And it feels a bit contradictory what I'm trying to say, but
Yeah.
I guess I'm sort of exploring the concept of collective consciousness and all that sort of thing within the brain. But it's contradicting
Oh, I think you're breaking up a bit.
other aspects. Oh, sorry. I think I don't know how much of that you could caught. It's the collective consciousness, I guess, I'm trying to explore, and where that Don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
No. Me either. It feels good not to know.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think that's everything that wants to be said.
Oh, nice. Lovely to speak with you, Jack.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks. Bye.
You too. Thanks.
Just chime in if you guys have anything to say. I have Iango that's very eager to call from India. He's called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times.
Oh,
I'll give him a call. We had a really lovely conversation last week.
oh, I think I listened to it.
Yeah.
It's a long one.
Yeah, he's from India. Hey, Yango!
Namaste.
Just chime in if you guys have anything to say.
I'll just mute the Ustream, correct?
Yes, just mute Ustream, please.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are, very.
Very much. Okay, I just is my camera,
No, I can't see you.
you can't see me, is it?
No, it's not such a good line as it was last week. For you, from you.
Okay. Now can
No, I can't see you. Oh, there we go. Ah, and you have a lovely flower.
yeah, that's a lotus.
Oh, nice. Huh. That's funny. I was
That's
thinking of
how in
lotuses.
India, I mean, the masters are sort of awkward. Thank you for calling. Today I wanted to ask about the mystery of God, because last time when we spoke, you had told me that. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you were telling that when you were talking to me, it was God speaking to God, and this is a mystery.
Yeah.
So can we just, I mean, can you tell us more about this mystery of God, which is doing all these things? I know it's
Let's see what comes. So when it's no longer seen that as you are having an experience and you are breathing in smells that are separate from you, or you are hearing the world that's separate from you, or you are looking at a world separate from you, then all there is God at play everywhere, in everything, in every sound, in every sight, in every vision, and it's totally intimate. There's not a distance between a you and the world. There's just intimacy happening everywhere. You could call it love. And it's totally mysterious. It doesn't make sense intellectually. It could never be understood through any thought or idea. The thoughts and idea are God, are appearance in God. It doesn't actually describe it.
okay. So I wanted to ask this body-mind mechanism, which is speaking to me in the name of Lisa Keynes. What was the difference before Bali and after Bali?
Before, there was somebody inside having a relationship with the world and on a spiritual journey. Afterwards, there was simply what is.
What happened to that person?
Well, I don't know. I don't know where she went.
She's not here.
Ah, well, that was such a funny moment. I don't know what happened to her. The character is still there. So
What do you mean by that?
the character is the person that has stories about the past and has things that it's doing for the future. Like tomorrow, I go to Greece, and so the character is still there and comes and goes when needed. When it's needed to do the tax returns and work out the tax returns and work out where it was last year, this year, or it's doing things for Paul, or talking to the neighbours, the character appears and is always changing and developing and moving, and it's not a stable thing. It's something that appears and disappears, but that is no longer an experiencer of life, or no longer somebody inside this body separate from life.
So part of she is not existing now. Then how is the software recollecting the data?
That just happens. That never implied somebody.
In your New York talk a couple of months ago,
Yeah.
said, instead of, to all of us seekers, you had said, instead of listening or trying to understand the content of any talk given by you intellectually,
Yeah.
try to find who's listening and who's talking.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'd have said it exactly like that, but yeah, who is listening and who is talking? Where is
Yes.
the you that's listening to Elisa? Only in imagining, and that imagining has been taken as a reality. It's been taken as an energetic expression. I'm in here, it's been repeated so many times, and I'm listening to Elisa out there. And we describe the habit and the behavior of the body as Elisa. We say, well, Lisa is somebody that is sitting giving a talk. Lisa is blonde. Lisa is 35 years old. That's not Lisa, that's a description of the body. But we take those descriptions to mean that somebody's inside the body listening to the world or listening to someone else. But actually there is simply sound happening. There is simply vision happening for no one in boundlessness.
So Lisa is non-existent.
So is it in, I've forgotten how to say your name again. It doesn't look Ilago.
Lung,
Ilango. Like what, sir?
Ilango.
Ilango.
Right.
Ilango actually does sound like it's spelt Ilango.
Correct. So Lisa does not exist.
Lisa is no longer the experiencer of this. Lisa exists as a character that comes and goes and is always changing.
And so is the case with Ilango also, right?
There might still be appearing in Ilango the dynamic which claims Ilango to be the experiencer of life.
Which is another thought.
Which is an energetic contraction that feels like Ilango is inside the body. Looking and hearing Lisa.
But when I try to find out who I am beyond the body, there is just a silence.
And that silence is everything. That emptiness is everything. But it's not something you can see, it simply is. It's not something to be in relationship to, it is this hollowness, this emptiness of all things.
And if each one of us can live our lives like this, then we are enlightened. Am I right?
Nobody can live their life like that.
Why?
Because the somebody is a character that's in movement and doesn't exist as a solid thing. The enlightenment is the movement from being that person to everything, which is kind of the way it's happening, but it just feels like you're in relationship with it.
Lisa, you were following Ramesh Balsekar, who was following Nisargadatta.
Yeah.
And Nisargadatta Maharaj always used to talk to the person saying, please understand. I mean, his sort of one word teaching was understand to the I. So through Ramesh Balsekar, when it came to Lisa Keynes, now what you're saying, I understand, is there is no I. There is only this. That is your teaching.
Yeah.
This. So what happened between Nisargadatta, Ramesh Balsekar and Lisa Keynes? What was the change in the teaching from?
Did you ever listen to Nisargadatta in his original language?
No, original language, no. I don't know Marathi. I listened to the translation by somebody who was next to him, but I've seen the live videos, yeah.
You've seen I wouldn't trust the translation.
Okay.
I know that sounds, I wouldn't even trust the book. Ugh. People are going to shoot me. But I just would be very wary of, that's why non-duality was always about going and speaking to a live speaker. Because you cannot put non-duality into words. So this communication has to be a live expression, because everything I say isn't it. Everything I say goes. Every piece of language can be contradicted, and there's no absolute meaning of anything that's spoken. So what you're doing in non-duality is you're always pointing back to what is, and always trying to debunk whatever isn't, whatever lie is being presented. So it's a live communication that happens. So I
Yes.
wouldn't trust books or or translations. I don't mean to be disrespectful of the people that's translated his book, but who knows if they actually understood what he was speaking about, and then to translate it. And it's a live thing. It's dependent on the person that goes and speaks to Nisargadatta in that moment. That non-duality is not a belief system. It's not something which you can take home. If you walk out with anything that I say and believe that to be truth, you've not heard what I've said. What I've said is always pointing back to this mystery that is undefinable. But when you're meeting people, you're debunking everything that you're saying and them simultaneously. And it's in the silence, it's in the no place, which is true, which is the truth. It's when everything collapses. And this is an energetic thing that's happening in these live talks. It's when the person... We just wait for it to pass. I love live, it debunks everything. Bum, bum, ba, da, da. Oh, there we go, it's passed. So it's in the live communication. There's no place to get to. Any place isn't it. It's this no place thing. And it's totally energetical, our communication. And what the speaker's actually doing is debunking every position.
Who's the speaker?
There is no speaker. It's ultimately God.
But there is I'm hearing you talking to me. There is a speaker, like the teaching.
You're not actually. There are sounds appearing and there's nobody that's ever listened to them. There are sounds appearing and that's who you truly are. The very sounds. The sight, the vision, not somebody that's looking at them. That's been the illusion.
So even I am a nobody.
Huh?
When the speaker is just sounds and vision, then the person hearing also is the same, isn't it?
Yeah. The person hearing disappears and then there's simply what is appearing. But if we had a whole society walking around telling everybody we are nobody, then the speaker would have to debunk the person that says we are nobody. I love non-duality. It's never a position.
But you are a teacher. I've been asking you this. You are a teacher and the teaching is this. The teaching of Lisa Keynes is just this.
Well, that's how you might see me as a teacher, but I certainly don't see it that way. There is just response happening here. There is sounds and response, and there's this big orchestra of life happening for no one. And I don't see a Lisa here giving a teaching, but I can understand that's how we typically communicate. We say Lisa's the teacher or Lisa's the speaker, but really that's not what's happening. There's this orchestra of life. And there's no difference between this sound and this sight and who you truly are. Isn't that heaven? That's total love.
So this is a cosmic orchestration.
Yeah.
A symphony.
A sympathy. I can't say the word now. Sympathy.
Huh?
I suddenly couldn't say that word. Symphony.
Symphony.
Yeah.
You can't say that, is it?
I've not at this moment in time, no. I've thought too much about the word. Symphony.
I can't understand.
No. Oh.
What is the concept of time, I had wanted to ask? You had said last time it is a software used by the human mind to maybe live its life, but...
Yeah, we humans made up the word time and the idea of time in order to communicate. So time originally, when humans were still hunters and gatherers, it was a way to say this morning I caught 10 fish, or I killed a horse, or the food will go off in 5 hours time, or whatever it was, the communication. It was a practical thing. But then after a while of being able to describe the world, they began to say, well, who's experiencing this? And then they began to describe themselves in time. Well, I am, and I am the person that caught the fish. I'm the person that's going to catch more fish. I don't have enough, or I do have enough. And then it began to feel like it could describe itself when it was only describing the practicalities and the movement of the body. It wasn't describing anyone. There was no one there before it could describe itself. And then it became an energetic sense. Well, I'm in here, and I'm in relationship with what I catch. I'm in relationship with the world. And I'm sure this is when humans began to what's the word, to destroy, or to take too much from the world, when they began to believe they were this thing in relationship to the world. Because then suddenly it became all about this person that doesn't even exist, this illusory person that's got to survive and got to have more and got to experience pleasure, because pleasure is God. Pleasure is this thing in the future that we have to have all the time. We've got to be warm, we've got to be secure, we've got to live 90 years of life.
So past and future are non-existent according to you?
Past and future are a practicality which humans are using in order to describe their limited perspective on life, but it's not an actuality.
So past and future are illusions again, like
Yes,
dreams.
like everything in this, everything. Not even the person's an illusion, but also everything else is illusion. Nothing's as it seems. The chair's not the chair, the wall's not the wall. There's never a definable thing. There is one energy constantly moving, giving the appearance that something's happening, but there's not actually a thing.
So that energy is the God principle.
Yeah.
The non-duality.
Yeah.
And that is you and that is I.
That is everything, everything.
The only difference is when Lisa Keynes, after enlightenment, she realizes that and she lives it. Whereas seekers like us, we hear it from you, and at times when we are silent, we feel there is nothing and everything. Yes, we understand, we realize that. But then when the thoughts come and the character comes back again, we are caught in that whirlpool.
There's nothing wrong actually with the thoughts and the character. It's the one that claims it. But yes, the person's then caught in a whirlpool of believing it's in relationship to life, when there is no relationship to life happening, but it's an energetic sense.
Today, in the beginning of today's talk, you were speaking with one of the seekers, and you had said it's not the thought which is the problem, but that energy which claims the thought. So what is this energy which claims the thought in a person or in this?
It feels like there's somebody inside the body looking out to a separate world. So it's like, it feels like you are a position inside the body. You are something inside the body. And normally that person that feels like it exists inside the body feels like it has things, it has thoughts, it has emotions, it has past experiences, it has future experiences. And that somebody is experiencing a world when that somebody is just an experience happening and not the experiencer.
So that is another thought.
It's actually, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's more of a sense of contraction. It feels like a contraction inside the body. And that contraction is saying, I am my thoughts, I am my emotions, I am my body, I am my good actions, I am my bad actions, I am my house, I am my kids, I am a father, I am a mother.
So is it a sort of a software running inside the human, saying, catching all these thoughts and claiming?
It does seem to be something that belongs solely to humans. I presume it comes with complicated thinking. So it's come with the ability to think, because I don't see it in animals. I never see my dog worrying about herself. Even though there's anxiety, she never worries about her anxiety.
Can I give an analogy in terms of, now we have computers and then we say 4th generation, 5th generation, and then they say virtual intelligence which can take over the entire world down the line. That's one. So is it that human beings, after coming from animals, once the thought process and the thinking became so complicated, the thoughts themselves started organizing themselves and created a sort of an I complex, and that is what is devouring the entire human population?
I don't know if it came from thoughts as such, but it seemed to come when complicated thinking came. But it became eventually an energetic sense. But that can go, and there can still be complicated thinking. that can go, and there can still be no person there. That can go, and there can still be the ability to discriminate and think, discriminate between this object and that object, and work out to lift up a table if you need to lift it up, whereas my dog can't think like that. But have you ever seen the film Her?
Yeah, I saw the film after you told me halfway through it. Till half I saw.
You got to watch all of it. I know it's a little bit boring at points, but you got to push on through.
But I think I'll have to continue that. Yes. Another cheeky question
Oh yeah.
to a master. No doubt. It's about Khaleesi.
Oh yeah.
You keep on saying, and a lot of masters keep on saying, animals do not, have memory, etc., etc. But then, how do we know that animals do or do not know?
They do have some form of memory. My dog has some form of memory. She remembers certain things. She remembers to look for the cat when we go out the front door. But she has no sense that it's her. She doesn't have a sense that she has a memory or that she's got to look for the cat when she goes out of the door. There is just an instinct and an impulse happening, and she doesn't know that she's inside and that there's an outside world. There is just life happening for no one.
So this mystery can't be unraveled at all.
What do you mean mystery can't be unraveled?
Life.
There can never be an intellectual understanding about this, because intellect comes and goes. Intellect isn't a permanent. So there can never be intellectual understanding. That's an experience.
Then what can happen from intellectual understanding about this mysterious God which is everywhere? And
there can just be a removal of that illusion, and then God is seen everywhere and is everything, and it's no longer contained to be one thing anymore. It's no longer in the prison of separation.
So your teaching is always a live experience for the seeker.
Yeah.
Even if it is online.
Yeah. Well, then begins to begin to question what is live, but that's traditionally how non-duality was communicated, was speaking about it live. It wasn't about reading it. It's not something that you can read and take on as a concept. It's not something that you can learn like you learn science or maths. Maybe science is different, maybe maths is different. It's like you learn English. It's not something you can learn like that. It's an energetic collapse that's happening. It's not an intellectual thing. You think at the moment you might be learning from me intellectually when we're speaking, but really there is just a screaming of this, 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 this. But the person keeps trying to find this in past and future.
So the teaching of Lisa Kent is just this, quote unquote.
This. But I don't know if it's a teaching of Lisa Kent, but we can define it as that because that's how society would call it. But it's really just a reminding of what's actually happening. It's love.
And apart from this you love talking about non-duality. So what would you say about non-duality?
It's the most beautiful subject there is, because what it points to is the end of the divide between you and a world. It's a total intimacy with what's happening. And it's nothing the person can get. It's not about the person getting to pleasure.
I understand. Just now you told me that it is the end of you and the world. When you mean you to me, what are you addressing in me?
The contraction that feels like it's looking at Lisa, that illusion that feels like it's looking at Lisa and experiencing Lisa.
So that contraction is actually an entity?
It's an illusory entity, but I mean everything's illusory. This one's more illusory than others.
And once that collapse of the illusory entity happens, then there is just this.
Then there is just this. In a way, when that
illusions there, there's just this as well, but it feels like there's more.
I had asked the same question last time, and you had said it is God speaking to God. You said I was God.
Oh yeah.
But now you tell me that you are addressing the contracted self within me, which is that is also God.
Oh, I don't know what originally you asked me. What was the original question you asked me today? That just a moment ago.
You had told me, I had asked you regarding your teaching, and sort of you have crystallized it into one word, if at all there can be a word that it is quote unquote this. So I was not able to go beyond that. So I asked you a question, what is, I mean, you keep on repeating most of the time that you love to talk about non-duality.
Yeah.
And what was non-duality? And you said non-duality is the removal of the division between you, that is me, Ilango, and the world.
Yeah.
Then I asked you, who's the you in me, in Ilango? Then you said it is that contracted image of...
Yeah. But ultimately, who's talking to who is God. But you asked, what is that you? And I said, that you is that contraction. But ultimately, it's God speaking to God. It's just, it's filtered through this narrow person of me.
So is it like, can you say that it is, God is like an electricity, and it is going through a sort of a bulb or a lamp where, you know, the self is sort of contracted, and therefore God appears like a contracted self.
Yeah, it appears like it's a light coming out of the roof or something, but it's not really.
Okay. So you don't prescribe to the original teachings of this master disciple in the Vedas, in the Advaita teachings?
That, I mean, the way it's done is, it tends to be done is through somebody speaking about it, and people listen to that speaker, and the speaker is always dodging. It's never got a solid teaching. It's always just in response to who is to the questions being asked. But ultimately, that's not what's waking anything up. What's truly waking everything up is God. God decided to pretend that this was real, and that it was somebody, and then it also, in that illusion, decides to find itself again. So it's life always waking life up. Lisa, the character of Lisa is simply a pawn.
So the master and the disciple is also part of the play.
Yeah.
And you came through the Buddhist teaching most of the time. How is it that you are teaching?
No. For 5 years there was a study of that, but then there was many years of non-duality. But even in Buddhism there's non-duality as well. And that was always the interest here.
So how was the Buddhism that you had been in the 5 years different from what you're talking now?
They had a lot more practices and a lot more things for the person to do. Like, you had to be compassionate, you had to do lots of practices, you had to act a certain way. They had a lot more prescription.
Whereas you do not prescribe anything.
No.
Except maybe listening to your talks. That's implied.
Maybe it's implied, but really it's not anything to do with my talks.
Because I have some friends here who are, you know, like Vedic scholars in Hinduism, and they all, whenever I question them regarding the Vedas, and they say it is heard and the rishis of thousands of years ago, I ask them, is that a teaching? They always say the same thing what you are saying, that those rishis lived with their, you know, disciples or whatever, and what they spoke was written down and then given down the ages. There was no concrete form of teaching as such. People who were enlightened lived, and other people followed what they did. I mean, that's what you are also saying.
Yeah, and I wouldn't trust anything that's been written down or translated so much.
Okay, then now when I asked you about Nisargadatta, you were asking me, did I hear the original talking in that same language? So I asked the same question one more time. When there are living masters, I mean, though you accept or not, people like you are enlightened, is it that proximity to you in, like, you know, in a surrounding would be more conducive to Advaita or non-dual teachings?
You're looking at it already through an illusion and then trying to make sense of that illusion, and it never will. You're looking at it already
as if you and I exist separately. Life is
We
doing
don't.
its life is doing its dance, however it does its dance, and Lisa is like a leaf blowing in the wind, um, and Ilango is like a leaf blowing in the wind. And if life has it that these leaves blow together for a while, then that's what happens. If they swirl around in the wind together for a while, you can't look at it like it's such a simplistic idea that if you spend time with me, that energy will pass on to you. It can't be answered yes or no. That it's not a real world that there's a you and a me.
It's a false world.
Yeah. So you
And
can't
then,
expect to have answers to these things that don't really exist.
so we are non-existent.
There is simply what is, a dance of this.
In one of your speeches, you had once said somebody was questioning you regarding Tony Parson and his importance as a teacher, and you said Tony Parson is like a bird chirping in the air, or song.
Oh God.
Just to give them, importance of, like don't attach importance to
Well,
any
but
speaker.
also that's exactly what I was going to say about me. If life does the dance properly, not that it's not properly, but if life does the dance of non-duality with us, then Lisa will be forgotten and disregarded.
But life is not doing that.
It will happen.
To 99.99% of the population.
Yeah, but that's because life wants to express every possibility. So it also so it's got to express the waking up for the dream, but it also wants to express the agony and the disillusionment as well. But I mean, like, I don't mean that as in, that could be taken really wrongly. I mean that in between, like, the one that speaks non-duality isn't the one speaking non-duality. So if non-duality is really heard, then it will no longer be heard as Lisa speaking, as Lisa's message. So Lisa will be forgotten.
I understand. So there is no prescription, there is no methodology.
There is simply what is.
Even listening live to teachers, would that be somewhere near?
It's no better nor worse than anything else.
Even if it is online?
No better than worse than anything else.
Would it be like, my question is sort of, me listening to Lisa Kane's online, would it be better than watching something else or doing something else?
No.
No?
No. But again, you're already rating it from a world that isn't a fixed thing. Like, better is always in comparison to something else, and it's not a fixed thing. There's movement happening. So everything is always in changing, and there's no solid stance on anything. So you're judging this in comparison to the ideas that you already hold, whereas ideas aren't a fixed thing. It's not a fixed world, so you can't really ever say better or worse, this or that, right or wrong. You're holding it in comparison to assumptions that have already been made that aren't true.
So what are you telling us? For talking to us. That's
Sorry?
I am at my wit's end.
Yeah.
No, you are talking to us. I understand Lisa Keynes does not exist. There is just a speech stuff coming to us through Ustream regularly, bi-weekly. and we are listening, we are at the receiving end.
So you think?
I am sort of, like I and most of us, we just do not know what to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
It's,
but the
it's
point
hard, the apparent awakening part where this begins to be heard, and that there's still a person that comes back and wants to get somewhere. So that's a hard. I mean, I think that's what Jesus described as walking through the desert. So there's still a looking for pleasure. There's still a looking for something in time, but yet it's begun to be heard beyond a personal hearing that this is it. And so the person does feel lost and disorientated because it based its whole life on goals, on achieving and getting somewhere, and pleasure being the king.
Many times when we read or listen to the biography or what the masters like you have told us, it's always like before enlightenment there was a certain practice, and then after enlightenment everything vanished. Even you have told us that you used to go to sleep listening to the tapes of, I'm not sure, some teacher, is it Ramesh Balsekar or Tony Parson?
Yeah.
Used to keep on listening to that while going, even you were so much involved in the process too.
Yeah.
But
if I give that to you as a practice, then I validate that person that thinks that it exists. And then it says, okay, I exist and I've got to practice to get somewhere.
But Lisa Haynes, before the enlightenment, before body was doing that, the same body-mind complex after that stopped it.
Yeah. Sorry, the same body-mind after that stopped it?
Stop listening to anybody else.
But if you want me to say listen to the tapes, then I could say it, but I'm saying listen to the tapes as if there's somebody inside the body. There's nobody there. They will either be listening or not. The one that feels like it's making itself listen to the tapes isn't the one that's making itself listen to tapes. That's an afterthought. It's happened prior to the conscious awareness of it. It's happened after that. It's happened after the event. It's going to happen or not, you listening or not. It's got nothing to do with the person that feels like it exists. But if that person that feels lost and confused needs something to follow, then there's nothing wrong with following the idea of following Lisa and that this will get you there. It's never going to get you there, but if that's what the person needs, that's okay to have that idea appearing. I've got to listen to this daily or twice a day and that will get me there. If that's what it feels like it needs to hear, there's nothing wrong with living in that idea. But ultimately, there's nobody there that ever... Lisa never had speakers that validated listening to their talks would get me there. I mean, if you ever listen to that one on YouTube of me with Ramesh, I keep trying to ask him about cause and effect and how it happens. There must be cause and effect. There must be a way to this. And he just keeps repeating, it's happening, it's happening, it's happening. He tells me all these different stories, but basically it comes back to, it's happening.
Yeah, I understand. But when Ramesh was telling it's happening, Lisa was pumping him with questions, asking how.
Yeah.
Now, we are in the same position.
Yeah. Yeah. And he never gave a freaking inch. The best that Ramesh did actually was he would say, if you really feel like you have to do something, although he never said this to me, but he would say it to some people, if you feel like you really have to do something, then follow back a choice and see if you can find where a choice begins. That was the only thing that he'd give. And he'd say, take a glass of whiskey while you do it. But he never said that to Lisa.
What's Lisa saying?
Well, you can take a glass of whiskey.
Last time after you told me about Nathan Gill, I got a small booklet, and he was telling in one of the pages, as you keep questioning and blah 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 blah, I'm going to have a cup of tea. It was wonderful.
Yeah, we like our tea. So do you actually. The Indians love their tea as well.
It's green tea.
Green tea.
Yeah. And you are also not giving an inch like Ramesh.
No. It would be almost, it might happen because you never know what's going to happen, but it would be almost impossible. It would be like, so say if both of us were looking at a rope and you believed that it was a snake, and you're going, it's a snake, it's a snake, and then it's like I would be like, oh yes, it's a snake, quick, we better run away. It would be feel like such a fake thing for me to, I mean, it might happen because I can understand what that panic must feel like. So I might say, okay, let's go and run away and hide. That might happen, but most of the time, that's not a snake. There's not a snake there. You'd be like, it's a snake, it's a snake. And I'd be like, it's a rope. And, you know, I would pick it up and show you it's a rope. So that's why speakers like me, there's not that many actually that speak like this, but that won't give an inch because it's so obvious that it doesn't exist. That isn't the way, that isn't freedom saying to you, okay, go and practice now. It's another cage. But at the same time, if that person feels like it needs to tidy the cage, there's nothing wrong with tidying the cage, of putting some posters up and making it seem and feel like a nicer cage.
But all this is scripted. Last time when I spoke to you regarding the script, Ramesh, to quote Ramesh Balsekar, he finally says it in 2 lines. There is no free will, but act as though you have a free will.
Yeah.
When I asked you the same question about free will and whether if a script is running, you even shot that down saying, no, things are happening now.
Spontaneously now, but I also said this is this way, this body's expression, that it can never be any other way. It will only be the way it is. There is one movement happening here, and the way that movement happens is it goes from one thing to another, and that this is directly related to something that will happen in 10 years. It's not happening in our timeline like we think it is. Like, so Alan Watts puts it really nicely in, sorry, just my computer's timed out. Alan Watts puts it really nicely. He says that it's, I mean, scientists are questioning now the idea of the Big Bang. But if we took the idea of the Big Bang, he says, imagine the Big Bang like a bottle. You take a bottle of ink and you throw the bottle of ink against the wall, and the Big Bang is this explosion of the ink. And in the middle, there's this big, dense, black puddle. And then as it gets further and further out, this splash, it gets more and more detailed. And at the end, there's nice little patterns that emerge. And in the middle, it's really dense and black. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie.
Yeah?
Sorry, I was just talking to my dog. Easy.
Oh.
Easy. Relax. So in the middle, there's this dense black blob, and then as it gets out, it's more and more detailed. And what the human experience is it feels like for the human that it's moving through that detail through time. Really, it's all happening instantaneously. The splat against the wall, the Big Bang, the explosion happens instantaneously. But for the human, because life wants to experience every possibility, for the human, it feels like it moves along the Big Bang and experiences it in a chronological time. So it feels like it moves through it, and that it's experiencing the movement as a person. And it's experiencing it from one moment to the next to the next. But that's part of the Big Bang that happens instantaneously.
You mean to say the Big Bang happened just now? It's happening now?
Yes. This is that primordial energy. But we're the little tiny details at the edge of the Big Bang. We're the intricate little details at the edge. So if you imagine throwing that ink against the wall, there's all these beautiful little details at the edge of that splat, at the end of that pattern of the ink, and it feels like we're moving through it in time, but actually it's an instantaneous thing.
Are you telling that the past, the future, and the present are sort of sandwiched into
this? Yes, this is the Big Bang appearing as us talking,
But actually it's an explosion of energy that can only happen now. And there's a direct access to that nothingness, that, like right now, there is that emptiness of that Big Bang. It's happening right here. In this instant, Lisa is the very expression of that Big Bang. It's
Not
just
15 million
humans,
years ago.
but humans are looking at it through chronological order, but that's part of the Big Bang. That's not an actuality.
Then what is chronology?
It's an appearance of that splash of ink against the wall. It's part of the intricate detail. But we think that's the reality, and we think that we're experiencing it like that. But actually it's a creative expression happening in
Even now, as you're
timelessness.
speaking, I mean, there is a lag of 30 seconds to 60 seconds in Ustream. I mean, it's happening now.
Yeah,
That is not time.
no. Time is the human simplistic perception, interpretation. There's the appearance of time, but it's not an actuality.
Then what's happening here?
Just stillness.
What?
Just stillness. Always stillness.
So I have a blog on the internet, and I've been questioning this to a lot of physicists and people who are passionate about physics. Always telling them the watch, if you see it at a moment, is always, a stationary piece of retinal image.
Yeah.
There is time actually happening. It's an illusion, but then it's
Always stationary. That's the experience, always. And right now there's that emptiness, that's that before the Big Bang happened, there's that no place, that absolute nothing, the void. That's happening right now too. As well as this splash of colour, this immense creativity that's happening. There's this no thing happening as well. There's this total emptiness, this void, this no place.
and everything.
And everything, and this total creativity simultaneously happening. And the no place is in that stillness. When you stop looking at it as movement on time on a watch, as this moment to the next moment to the next moment, this vastness is known. This is a vastness that's never happened, this stillness.
Is there a continuity between the Lisa Keynes before Bali and after Bali? The Lisa Keynes who was questioning Ramesh Balsekar on YouTube.
There seems to be in the limited human experience, but ultimately no. There is no solid person that's ever existed.
If I may ask you, after Bali, after the enlightenment, what was the signature event which happened in this body-mind complex called Lisa Keynes? Before and after, what was the difference?
That before was Lisa was experiencing life, and Lisa was something moving in time. Lisa had things and knew things, and was her intelligence and was her past experiences and future experiences. She was the experiencer before Bali. After Bali, that was no longer the experiencer. There was silence and movement happening simultaneously. There was stillness and movement simultaneous. And Lisa came and went after that and was an experience, became an experience. There was constantly moving and changing. A beautiful experience, but no longer was the experiencer.
There is only silence.
And movement.
Movement of thoughts too?
Thoughts and movement as well. A divine expression as well. It's not about not experiencing anything.
For a normal human being like us, we are bombarded with thoughts most of the time while we are awake, and while we dream also it is thought in action. For an enlightened master like you, how many thoughts do come in a day?
I'm not an enlightened master. There is simply life happening, and there's no position in which I can be found.
So any
Okay.
experience I tell you would be back in dreamland, really. It would be me having an experience. It would be me taking position in relationship with life.
But is the body-mind mechanism speaking to me in the name of Lisa? Does it have thoughts occasionally in a
There
day?
are thoughts, there are emotions, there are feelings, there are all types of behavior. There can be jealousy, there can be anger, there can be love, there can be compassion, there can be stinginess, there can be generosity, all types of things. All types, but for no one. Lisa is a ray of colours that's always changing and updating and moving. Tends to have a similar pattern to it, but always changing. There can be thoughts and all types of emotion, all types of colours. But that is not the experiencer. That is an experience.
There is no continuity.
There is no continuity, but it seems like there is in the person, in the character.
Those of us watching outside would think there is a continuity in Lisa Keynes, but there is no continuity.
There's no continuity in anything, but it seems that way from the limited human experience.
So people like us, we connect those events and create a personality.
And create somebody that's experiencing life.
Okay, another question, cheeky question again. You frequently talk the humans.
I frequently say what?
The humans.
Yeah.
The humans. You talk about the humans.
Yeah.
The humans, do this, do that. So
Yeah.
when those of us listening, with no disrespect or anything, we feel you are not human.
Oh, God. Well, actually, none of us are human,
that's what
really.
we are aware, no? Like those
No,
of us who are listening
but
to you.
but it's true in a way, because there is no sense here that I am Lisa anymore, and yet there is a sense that Lisa is me, as in everything is me. But it's no sense that Lisa is the one speaking now.
So what do you mean the humans? You mean this Homo sapien race?
God no, I don't know what I mean, and each time I say it, I can't.
Most of the time you say the humans, are caught up. This is a fact of life actually. But when you say with that confidence that the humans, are doing this, then we do understand, that you are in a different sort of dimension of silence.
Well, it doesn't feel like Lisa's the experiencer anymore. It doesn't feel like I am a human. That doesn't feel like the way it is anymore.
Then who's the I?
Everything.
I'm sorry.
Everything.
Everything. The entire universe, right?
Everything.
Entire universe.
No one thing. Everything that ever is and ever was and is. Everything. And no one thing.
This is what all the enlightened masters say. And it is so nice to hear it live from, we call you a master.
That's cute. That's sweet. I understand that's the way it's spoke about in India.
Correct. And which means that you are God.
And
you have realized it.
But so are you as well.
There was a famous question to one of the masters when a disciple asked, "Are you God?" Then the master says, "Yes, I have remembered, you have forgotten."
Yeah, it just seems to be in that body there's the illusion that you are experiencing this.
And in India, many times they say the master can remove the veil. Zen masters have done it by touching with a stick and so on and so forth. So,
well, who knows how it plays out, but it's really nothing to do with the master, because that would imply personhood.
But when you are God, you can do anything.
God isn't conscious like we imagine it's conscious. That's from a human perspective, that there's choice. We personify everything and put a human consciousness on it. But it's already 10 past, and I have to pack from a practical thing to go to Greece tomorrow. The body has to pack. But that was lovely speaking to you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, you guys kind of got blew out of it. He's sweet, yeah. He's very sweet.
Did you
stop the whole thing already?
No, not stop the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just about to end it. But yeah, it's 8:10 already.
Goes quick. Yeah.
So thank you guys on Ustream, and I won't be Ustreaming for the next till Wednesday. For the next week and a half, I'm on retreat. So the next one will be Wednesday Wednesday the 10th of June. No, that's not right. Wednesday no, I'm just flying back. Sunday the 21st of June. There might be some in between. I might stream some talks or something, but the next set one will be Sunday the 21st of June. And if you want to come to my house and see it's in Gouda, you're more than welcome. Just send me or Melissa an email just to say you're coming. And if you want to join, there might still be places in Greece that starts on Tuesday, but you'll have to email them and look on my website. Okay, guys. Thanks. Bye.